UFC 298, these are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Main event, Alexander Volkanovski defends the featherweight throne against Elliott Topuria. Really excited to talk about each of the matchups on this card. So make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. And also note, I will be live for the entire UFC 298 fight card Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Don't miss the fight companion and also peek the shirt. Let's get into the first fight on the card. Ladies going after it. It's Andrea Lee versus Miranda Maverick. My pick is Andrea Lee to win this fight. I know that'll surprise some people because Maverick, strong favorite, younger fighter. But Andrea Lee's a pretty competent grappler. She's got good Muay Thai. I think that she's overlooked by the books a lot. And I know she has 3 losses in a row. Natalia Silva loss is not bad at all. Silva just beat Araujo, who's legit. A loss to Macy Barber on a competitive and maybe controversial-ish split decision where she had moments in the grappling. Miranda Maverick also has a controversial type loss to Macy Barber because Barber, for whatever reason, is always getting these close decisions. Then Araujo beat her too. And Araujo's a scary Brazilian woman. I think Andrea Lee can do well in the stand-up with Miranda Maverick. I think that if we're looking at the grappling, I don't see a strong advantage for Maverick. I feel like we're going to end up having a very competitive fight that goes to the judges' scorecards. And I think Miranda Maverick probably loses it 29-28 on 2 cards and wins it 29-28 on another. So I'm going Andrea Lee. I'm thinking split decision. I think she pulls this upset off. I feel like the grappling game of Maverick will be stifled by Lee's capabilities in the grappling too. And I like the Muay Thai of Lee a bit more than like the, MMA stand-up style of Miranda Maverick, the ex-softball player, more like athletic-based striking. Even though, we got to respect Maverick out of southpaw. She's not very powerful. I don't see her knocking her out with a big punch. I think Andrea Lee wins a competitive split decision. Plus 170 for Andrea Lee as a dog. Over 2.5 is going to hit at minus 350. And Maverick a minus 200 favorite. Maverick should not be this big of a favorite. Open that minus 170. For whatever reason, Maverick is always at a juiced up line against girls that have legit chances to beat her. I'm not just picking Lee, though, because of the odds. I actually see her as a bad stylistic matchup. Experienced veteran in the UFC. At this point, they both are. But I think Lee's fought the better opposition. And I feel like she pulls it off. Last time Maverick beat Cachoeira. Before that, lost to Jazz Davicius, and she was a big favorite there. I think Lee pulls off an upset here. Let's keep running up. Next fight. We got Val Woodburn versus Oban Elliott. I'm picking Oban Elliott to win. I think Val Woodburn is kind of trash. I don't want to absolutely rip him apart. He seems like a pretty nice dude. But even when you see him on the regional scene, he's wild and reckless with his shots, kind of fighting like a welterweight version of William Knight. Not even, though. William Knight's maybe a little smoother with the hands. He was fighting at 85 previously. Now he's coming down to 170 to fight Oban Elliott. I'm curious how the weight cut looks at him. In the UFC, what have we seen of Val Woodburn? He got chinned in one shot by Bo Nickel. On the side of Oban Elliott, he had a good win over Kalik Brito, in which he was a dog. Lost bad in the second round, came back, ends up winning the fight. Good third round, gassed out Brito a bit. Pretty decent stand-up game for Oban Elliott. He's definitely competent on the floor. I don't love a finish call here. I'll say decision for Oban Elliott. Probably 30-27. 29-28. I question if Val Woodburn should even be in the UFC at this point. They did a big favor to Bo Nickel, throwing him Val, and they're returning the love to Val Woodburn, giving him another fight. But I think Oban Elliott should definitely get the win. I think the boxing of Elliott's definitely better than Woodburn's. I think Woodburn is going to look to smother him with pressure, but Oban's going to have good defensive knowledge in the clinch, create some space, strike, and maybe even end up on top. There's a chance Oban can finish him, but I wouldn't go throwing money at a guaranteed finish. Now, minus 275 for Oban Elliott as the favorite. He's a damn wide favorite here with Val Woodburn at plus 235. At least Oban Elliott went through Contender Series and got a clean win as an underdog against a pretty decently regarded prospect heading into that fight. Val Woodburn jumped into the UFC. Like, outside of it, okay, 30-16, 17-8. He's fought a lot of journeymen and unexperienced or inexperienced fighters, whereas Oban Elliott, like, beating Khalid Brito's legit, fighting over in Cage Warriors. Like, it's not like he's fighting the best opposition ever, but at least it's like a stern promotion. We're going with Oban Elliott by decision. I think we can ride with, Jack Shore's training partner. He's got a good team around him, and he should beat somebody like Val Woodburn. If he doesn't, release him from the UFC. Next fight, Josh Quinlan versus Danny Barlow. The pick is Danny Barlow by knockout. He's going to absolutely destroy Josh Quinlan. Josh Quinlan is an ex-steroid cheat. I don't even have a problem with him being an ex-steroid cheat. It's the fact that he went out and admitted that he did it because he was insecure. So I just now view him as somebody that has confidence issues. And in fighting, even if you're insecure, I don't want to fucking know. I want to believe that you're an absolute Chad and you believe you're going to knock everybody in the world out without steroids. Now, if he was more sociopathic, like a John Jones, who maybe took the stuff, he definitely did, but claimed that he never did, and for whatever reason believes it to the core that he never took it, even though he just believes he's a lifetime natural, like, some of those bodybuilders like Mike O'Hearn, maybe I'd have some confidence in Josh Quinlan. But he shied away from a scrap with Trey Waters. He got boxed up in that fight. And now you're throwing him Danny Barlow, who's 6'2", 2 inches taller, with an 8-inch reach advantage, way faster hands, clean knockout power, precision puncher, a sick knockout on Contender Series 2 against Raheem Forrest, who was actually pretty solid. And, like, he's chinning dudes a lot. Like, even though, Jason Flowers went 2-6. But Josh Quinlan is not that experienced. He's 6-1. He had a nice win over Jason Witt, but who hasn't knocked out Jason Witt? And then Trey Waters boxed him up. You got to go Danny Barlow by knockout in this fight. I think he's going to destroy Josh Quinlan. Quinlan is plus 165 the dog. Barlow minus 190 the favorite. Danny Barlow, knockout win, confident call. If he loses this fight, I feel like, it's over for him. Like, right now, I'm looking at Barlow with that reach that he has at 170. He could be an interesting striker that can work his way up the ranks. And if he's got the power to go alongside of it like I think he does, this is going to be a breeze. Next fight on the card, we got Mingyang Zhang versus Brendson Ribeiro. I am picking Mingyang Zhang. Brendson Ribeiro fought on Contender Series against, the name's now escaping me, Bruno Lopez. And I remember I thought Bruno Lopez was going to destroy him because, like, Brendson Ribeiro is kind of awkward with his stand-up. He's been chinned outside of the UFC, outside of Contender Series multiple times. And I thought, okay, this Lopez dude's looking like somebody the UFC is going to be backing and potentially signing. No, Ribeiro worked a stiff jab, had a gnarly 1-2 down the line, legit knockout power, legit Muay Thai striking, dangerous for sure. He's got a crazy reach too, 81 inches. When I see 80-inch reach or more, you're in the freak category for me. But Mingyang Zhang is not a guy that's going to shy away from a fight. He's looking to press. He closes the gap well. Now, he's a former heavyweight that trimmed down to 205 for road to the UFC, and he got a sick knockout win over George Tokos, who was a, minus 600 favorite against him, minus 700, like a disgustingly wide favorite, and Zhang made the fight look easy. The dude is a smiling savage. He has a smile on his face as he's just beating the hell out of his opponents. I think that Zhang is going to put pressure on Ribeiro. The difference is Lopez is not fast on his feet. Lopez also, I think, was not willing to commit to closing the gap on the longer Ribeiro, whereas Mingyang Zhang is willing to absorb shots. He's confident with forward pressure. Like I said, former heavyweight, has legit power, but also good speed. I think Mingyang Zhang at 25 is scary, and I'm picking him by knockout. This fight is ending inside of the distance. This is definitely an under 2.5 type of fight. Zhang minus 145. Ribeiro plus 125. I'll tell you straight, when picking this one, it's which prospect you want to ride with. Do you want to go with Team China or you want to go with Team Brazil? We've seen both guys have losses on their record outside of the UFC earlier on in their careers. Ribeiro for me, I just didn't think was all that skilled heading into Contender Series. Now, he proved me wrong. He got a win on Contender by knockout, but maybe Lopez is kind of overrated. And now I got Mingyang Zhang, who looks terrifying, who brings good forward pressure, has hand speed, knockout power, good boxing skill, competent grappling defense. I think he's going to close the gap on Ribeiro, and I think he's going to knock him out, and I'm very excited for this fight. This is like a sleeper fight on the card between two prospects here at the light heavyweight class. Like both of these guys with impressive wins, big things could be on the horizon. I just think Zhang is going to rep China well and pull it off. I'm going with Team China for the win. Next fight on the card, we have Rinya Nakamura versus Carlos Vera. Rinya Nakamura is going to win, but it's about how does he win. Carlos Vera is not an easy guy to bully and finish. Like, I know he lost to Brad Katona on Tough. He did get submitted 4 years ago outside of the UFC, but he's got a good Taekwondo striking style, so his stand-up game's pretty quality. Rinya Nakamura was like running people over as soon as he entered that road to UFC, and he's known for bullying his opposition. Whereas Carlos Vera on the other side, bro, he's 36, and this is his UFC debut. So he's definitely in a completely different spot. Rinya is somebody that could be built into a future title challenger. Carlos Vera, he's in the UFC. He made it. And I think Vera is a good dude, and, it's fighting, though. He's going to get fucked up. I think Rinya Nakamura is going to find success in the grappling here. I think he probably beats up Vera a bit. Because Vera's 36, I think the pace that Nakamura puts on him might be too much. It's like half of me really thinks it's going to end up going distance, though, and Rinya's going to win by decision. But, like, if I'm going to back the Savage, I got to back him with some savageness, too. I'm going to say Rinya inside distance. I think he could chin Carlos Vera on the feet, because even though Vera's got that Taekwondo, he's not super gnarly with the hands. But I think Nakamura on the ground can put a pace on Vera, gas him out, and then strangle him. So we're going Rinya Nakamura inside distance. I'll say submission, but inside distance would be better. If I'm looking to throw the prop out, we don't have nothing here because right now we just have money line odds that are stupid. Minus 900 for Nakamura, Vera plus 600. Rinya's definitely going to win the fight. I think this is like kind of a layup type matchup. But Carlos Vera, still, decent enough game. He's not horrible. He's got submission wins. He can survive a little bit. Maybe he ends up surviving to the final bell. That would be a win for him here. If he goes distance with Rinya Nakamura, who's a terrifying finisher, that's huge. Now, I know Nakamura, the Fernie Garcia decision, which, Fernie just got beaten the hell up last night by Hyder Emil. Maybe Rinya's not as much of a finisher as we think. We'll find out. I'll call it submission, though. We'll say inside distance, but he might chin Vera. But, hey, maybe Vera proves us he's too tough. We'll go sub, though. Official call is sub. Don't say, oh, you're teetering on the fence. No, I'm picking submission. I'm picking sub. Rinya Nakamura is definitely going to win the fight. Next fight on the card, we got Marcos Rogério de Lima versus Justin Tafa. I'm picking Marcos Rogério de Lima. The reason I'm picking him is because Justin Tafa has not fought anybody good. In all actuality, like, Tafa's got some hype on him right now, and he hits really hard. He's knocking people out. But, bro, he beats Austin Lane, and that now is going to make you a confident call to beat De Lima. Who's Austin Lane? Greg Hardy chinned him in one punch. He beat Parker Porter. Parker Porter is a UFC opponent towards the back tier. Yeah, he's able to grind out some wins against a couple real back-end guys, but he's out of the rankings by a long shot. Harry Hunsucker, who's not even UFC caliber. And then a loss to Jared Vandera, who's released from the UFC now. De Lima was a favorite heading into the fight with Derek Lewis. And, like, I'm not going to forget about De Lima's game. I think he's competent in the striking for sure and could be competitive with Tafa on the feet and avoid big power shots. I think if we clinch up and get to the ground, that's going to be De Lima's world. I don't know how Justin Tafa is going to look off of his back. I don't know if he's going to be able to get up if he's taken down. I'm sure it's improved since, he first started fighting. Just one of those fights, man. Do I go with the aging veteran or do I go with a sick prospect with awesome knockout power but no proof that he can grapple? I'm going to go with De Lima, but I'm not saying he's the bet of the century. I think De Lima could grind out wrestling heavy attack and win against Justin Tafa landing takedowns. But Tafa's going to be live for the knockout the whole time. So if you're betting down on Lima, expect to sweat. Maybe you're hedging it with a Tafa by knockout call. Because if Tafa's to win, he's chinning him. Minus 140 for Lima. Tafa plus 120. Over 1.5 at plus 185. If Lima is successful in grappling here, if Lima can land these takedowns on Tafa, if he can press him against the cage, I expect this fight to go later. We're picking against 3 wins against low-tier opposition, and it's like, I don't know, man. We still got to respect what Lima's done. I'm picking Marcos Rogério Lima. I think he wins. I think it might be a decision. Could he end up getting a sub against a tired Tafa? Definitely. And if Tafa's to win, it's knockout. So, like, betting-wise, if you're throwing on Lima money line, you can, hedge a little something on Tafa by KO, because that's how he's going to win it if he is to win. But, yeah, I guess I'm going with the old man. But, like, as I'm talking about it, I won't lie to you. As a fan, I'd love to see Tafa chin him. I just worry about Tafa on the ground. I feel like he might be a fish out of water with Lima on top of him. Next fight is our featured prelim. Amanda Lemos versus Mackenzie Dern. I'm going to pick Amanda Lemos to win. I think she gets a decision. She might rock Dern a couple times, but I do feel like Dern's going to have the toughness to go later into the fight. The thing with Dern, too, is like at times she gets so reckless in the striking and it looks so damn bad. She gets wild and frustrated and starts throwing craziness, whereas Amanda Lemos is calculated. Amanda Lemos picks her shots better. The concern is if they hit the mat, right? Mackenzie Dern will have a clear-cut Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu advantage, but I don't think Amanda Lemos is going to be easy to take down. Yeah, I know the champion, Wei Li, was able to get her down and garner some control, but Lemos still throws up sneaky submission attempts. I don't think Mackenzie Dern's going to be successful in this fight with pressure grappling. I think she's going to be forced into a scrap. The Lemos knockout is going to be very live here. I'm going with Lemos to win it. I think decision, because of the toughness of Dern, is there too. You know what? I'm flipping it to knockout. We're calling it knockout off the bat. Wrote down decision? No. We're going with knockout Amanda Lemos. I think that she's going to rip up some legs of Dern. I think she'll avoid takedown onslaughts. I think she'll touch her up from distance with the striking. She's clearly better. She'll be able to, I think, fend off takedowns better than most in the clinch here. She's a lot more explosive than Mackenzie Dern. Now, as far as the odds, Mackenzie Dern currently sitting at plus 105. Lemos minus 125. I think Lemos is going to rip her apart in the stand-up. This line's mad close. Opened up at minus 270. There is that much love for Mackenzie Dern as an underdog here. I don't get it, because it's not like Amanda Lemos is a suspect grappler. If anything, Mackenzie Dern's a suspect striker, and the knockout is going to be on the table for Lemos. So give me Lemos all day. I think she's a good pick, and I'm calling it knockout. Next fight on the card is our main card opener. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. We have Anthony Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov. Listen, I am not fading the OV. I'm going with Roman Kopylov to get it done. What am I saying? Fading the OV. What are you talking about? If you're not a consistent member of the channel, you probably don't know. But the OV means OV, EV, Russia region, right? The OVs or the EVs. Hernandez on the other side is a dangerous grappler. He submitted Rodolfo Vieira, and I think that's absolutely sensational. He's got a decent striking game too, but Roman Kopylov is a sniper striker. He's training with Team Dagestan, working his wrestling game. I feel like he's going to touch up Anthony Hernandez from the outside. Hernandez is going to look to pressure grapple, but he's going to be unsuccessful on the majority of his attempts. And Kopylov is going to be picking his shots beautifully, wearing on Anthony Hernandez. And I think Kopylov is live to end up pulling a knockout here. I really like the striking game of Kopylov a lot. And he's coming into his own early on. Like, you know, we saw him take this L to Darayev, even though it was a competitive fight. And then I was like, maybe Kopylov's not that dude. But you look now, I mean, Di Chirico destruction, Soriano destruction, Ribeiro destruction, and then he beat up Josh Frem. Now you can say, bro, but they're lower tier wins. And then Anthony Hernandez's resume, Rodolfo Vieira submission, which is sensational, because he's a jiu-jitsu champ. Josh Frem decision. Marc-Andre Barrios sub, decent W. Edmund Shabazian TKO. Edmund Shabazian is like a very watered down version of Roman Kopylov, in all honesty. And I think that Kopylov is going to touch up Hernandez in the striking department, and he's going to knock him out. I'm going Roman Kopylov as an underdog to beat Fluffy Hernandez in a battle of the back end of the top 15 here. Minus 185 for Hernandez. Kopylov is plus 160. I love Kopylov here. Under 2.5, minus 195. I think we're going under that 2.5. Kopylov is scary. Now, I'm thinking Kopylov does have some gnarly kicks to the body. May see a bit of hesitancy with body kicks due to Anthony Hernandez's grappling game and potentially timing the catches of the kicks and then landing takedowns. But watch for Kopylov to set up strikes up high, too. His head kicks are legit. I'm going Kopylov KO win. He's taking out Fluffy Hernandez. Hernandez has got good grappling. He's a decent striker. He's scrappy on the feet. I remember when he knocked out Jordan Wright on Contender Series, it got overturned. It was from smoking reefer that he got overturned, if I'm not mistaken, which is stupid to be a no contest for that. But either way, Hernandez got hands too, is what I'm saying. It's just Kopylov is so much sharper of a blade with his striking that I have to pick him, especially with quality takedown and grappling defense. Next fight on the card, we got Merab Dvalishvili versus Henry Cejudo. I'm picking Merab. I can't stand Cejudo at this point. Talking about, oh, if I lose, I'm probably going to retire. Oh, if I win, I want a title shot. And then what? To retire immediately after? He's 37. Merab is going to put a pace on Henry Cejudo that he's going to be unable to deal with here, guys. Okay? Merab is going to pressure him. Yeah, he doesn't need to take Henry Cejudo down. That doesn't matter. He's going to be backing him up. If you're talking about in the clinch, Merab's going to be strong as hell. Even though Merab does not have an Olympic gold medalist in wrestling, this is not on a mat wrestling, okay? This is not freestyle. This is MMA wrestling. Merab Dvalishvili can put a crazy pace on you, smother you, pressure you, throw a ton of strikes, and this is 3 rounds. So Merab could potentially put an even faster pace than he normally is able to put, because we know Merab's ready for a hard 5. I'll tell you this too. Merab Dvalishvili is a harder matchup for Henry Cejudo than Aljamain Sterling. Why is that? His pace, his pressure style, and his stockier frame. I think it's going to make it more difficult for Henry Cejudo than it was with Aljamain Sterling. I feel like Merab is in his face for the majority of the fight. Cejudo on the back foot probably is going to be struggling to set up power shots, and I don't think Henry Cejudo has the punching power to keep Merab off of him. Henry Cejudo is a decent boxer by all means. He's not bad with the hands. Like, he knocked out Dillashaw, right? But let's be honest, okay? Dillashaw was anemic in that fight. He was 125 pounds. He looked like he hadn't eaten in weeks. Marlon Moraes, knockout win. Bro, the Marlon Moraes fight, he was losing, came back, won, and he kind of ended Marlon Moraes' career. So that was a sick win. Dominic Cruz knockout, maybe an early stoppage, but years ago, almost 4 years. Then he lost to Aljamain Sterling, took a ton of time off, and now he's taking on Merab, who's been an absolute stud. John Dodson win, Cody Stamann win, Marlon Moraes knockout. He got rocked in that fight too. Jose Aldo win, which is legendary, and beat up Petr Yan. Petr Yan is the guy that sent Henry Cejudo into retirement because he didn't want to fight the terrifying Russian. Merab Dvalishvili gets this thing done by a decision. We're going with Merab. Minus 180, Merab. Plus 156, Cejudo. I think we're getting a hard-fought 3 rounds, over 2.5, minus 300. That makes a lot of sense. Merab and Merab to probably earn a title shot. They might not give it to him because if O'Malley's champ, he's going to have that, I don't know, high pedigree, fan favorite champ status where he can kind of do what he wants. But if the system is just, Merab with a win here, he's going to be hard to deny. I know it's between him and Sandhagen, realistically. If Cejudo wins, though, definitely Sandhagen's next. Merab for the W. Cejudo ain't winning. Sorry, Sandhagen. Love Sandhagen, but Cejudo ain't winning. I still want to see Sandhagen versus O'Malley more than Merab O'Malley, to be fair. Next fight, featured bout. Jeff Neal versus Ian Machado Garry. I am picking Ian Machado Garry to outstrike Jeff Neal in a pretty competitive 3-round affair. Jeff Neal has legitimate knockout power in his hands. He's definitely dangerous with his kicks. Remember when he destroyed Mike Perry years ago? It's just, I think Ian Garry is the smoother striker, a little bit crisper with everything, better movement, and maybe more primed right now. Ian Garry is seasoning himself up to be something special. Now, Jeff Neal, he's done very well in the UFC, and like he knocked out Luque, which was absolutely sick, knocked out Belal some years ago, does have a loss recently to Shavkat, but he had moments against Shavkat, and it's Shavkat. Ponzinibbio split decision. I lost a little faith in Neal during that fight, but he proved me wrong afterwards and beat up my boy Vicente. Neil Magny lost. Stephen Thompson. Isn't it crazy that Neil Magny beat Jeff Neal? Ian Garry coming off a destruction of Neil Magny, destroyed him bad. Daniel Rodriguez knockout. Kenan Song, who dropped him. And that's why a lot of people think Jeff Neal could rock and knock out Ian Garry here, because Kenan did rock him. But let's not forget, Garry recovered, came back, and dominated that fight. Gabe Green win, Darian Weeks win. I think Ian Garry wins a competitive affair where he's tested against Jeff Neal, but he's the cleaner and slicker striker, and I see more significant shots landing on the side of Ian Garry, and that's why I'm picking him. Now, the odds for Ian Garry, minus 212, not beautiful. Plus 182, Jeff Neal. What's the over sitting at for this fight? The over 2.5 is minus 130. I feel like it's going long. I have a hard time seeing Ian Garry just destroy Neal and chin him. Could Neal land a big knockout punch? Maybe. But Gary's, I think, defensively sound. He's looking better and better each fight. And, like, there's definitely improvements in the past year since that Song fight where he was rocked. Like, and he still won that fight. He still got a sick knockout. He still came back. He still put it on him. We're going Ian Garry to beat Jeff Neal. As much shit as Ian Garry talks, as much of, an a-hole as he can be through the social medias. Granted, he's firing back at the trolls a lot too. It's so funny to me, though, because I remember when Ian Garry got signed and people were advertising him as the nice Conor McGregor and Hamzat was the evil Habib. Well, how the tables have turned, because Ian Garry has turned full heel now since marrying his lady. We're going with Ian Garry for the Dubski, man. I think Jeff Neal's getting wagged in this fight. Co-main event of the evening, Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa. I am picking Robert Whittaker to win because Paulo Costa, as terrifying as he is, being absolutely jacked, sick knockouts early in his run. What has he done for us lately? Be honest with yourself, guys. If you're picking Costa as a dog, what has he done lately? Well, I'll tell you exactly what he's done. He beat Luke Rockhold on a decision in a fight that I wasn't overly impressed by. Before that, he lost to Marvin Vettori. He beat his body up with some kicks, though. But he lost to Vettori up at 205. He still looked good with heavy kicks, but like losing to Vettori, it didn't age well. Because Vettori, to me, right now, his stock is diminished a good amount. Especially that Delidze decision. Israel Adesanya destroyed him, knocked him out. Win against Yoel Romero, okay? Last impressive, it was impressive that he beat Yoel on paper, but it was a competitive fight that could have gone either way. Last, significant, impressive, finishing win is he knocked out Uriah Hall 5.5 years ago, okay? He hasn't gotten a sick win in the 2020s yet. Whereas on the opposite front, Robert Whittaker takes on all comers. Jared Cannonier domination. Kelvin Gastelum win. Lost to Israel Adesanya in a very close fight. I went back and rewatched it, okay? And I remember thinking, that was a damn close one. I thought there's potential that it could have gone either way. People say, no way, absolutely not. I see why they gave it to Izzy, for sure. But let's not forget Rob was competitive in that fight. Win over Vettori, who has a win over Paulo Costa. Granted, we're not doing MMA math, just saying. And Dricus du Plessis destroyed him. Because Dricus du Plessis destroyed Robert Whittaker, it seems like now Robert Whittaker is being completely written off. He's washed. I see it. I see it in the live chat. I see it in the comments. People think that Robert Whittaker is done. I don't believe that. He has to show that he's really washed for me to believe it. If he goes out there and gets destroyed by Paulo, now the question is truly arising. Okay, Rob's not the same. But if we get the Robert Whittaker that we knew from the fight right before the fight right before Dricus, which was the fight against Marvin Vettori, if we get that version of Robert Whittaker, who's calculated, technical, and dangerous, he's going to cleanly outstrike Paulo Costa in competitive fashion, but 3 rounds of work, Robert Whittaker's winning it. Paulo Costa, yes, he can bully opponents. Yes, he can bring big pressure, but he's not a one-punch knockout artist. Paulo Costa is a guy who swarms you, blitzes you, and lands multiple big shots to put you down. He's not a one-shot and chin you type of fighter. And I don't think Robert Whittaker is getting one-shot chinned in this fight. I'm going Robert Whittaker by decision. Minus 220 for Whittaker. He opened up at minus 300. Holy shit. Plus 185 for Paulo Costa with an over 1.5 at minus 240. I think we're definitely going over 1.5. I'm high confident in that. I think Whittaker beats Paulo Costa. Costa's got the hype. He's the fan favorite type of guy at this point. Granted, Rob's definitely a fan favorite, but like Paulo Costa's a celebrity, you know? And that's why he doesn't fight as much these days. He gets a big opportunity here with a win. With a win, Paulo Costa might be fighting for a title. But in all actuality, this is a hard step, man. Taking out Robert Whittaker is going to be crazy. If Paulo Costa wins this fight, I'm actually just considering the options. Can you imagine a Paulo Costa-Duplessis fight? That would do huge numbers. But yeah, I think Rob Whittaker sends him back. I'm going with the better fighter in Rob Whittaker to get the win. I don't believe he's washed. I still have faith in him. Main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the likes. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. It's Alexander Volkanovski versus Elliott Topuria. I'm picking Alexander Volkanovski to expose Elliott Topuria. I know Topuria is really solid, though. So when I say expose, you're not getting exposed if you lose to the greatest featherweight of all time. But I think that Topuria, it's a little too much too soon. His mentality coming into this fight, I believe, is he's already looked past Volkanovski. He's talked about Conor McGregor. He sees himself emerging as a star in the UFC and is looking to get the big money fights thereafter. But Volkanovski is a legend, and he's not somebody that anyone should look past. Yeah, he took a short notice fight against Makhachev and got knocked out. But let's not forget what he did to Makhachev with a full camp. Let's not forget about the Yair Rodriguez performances, the Max Holloway wins. Like, Alexander Volkanovski's a great. Oh, he's 35. So magically 35. Nope, that's the number. You're 35 and over, you're washed. Volkanovski, yeah, the record for guys being over 35 is not great in title fights, but it's Volkanovski we're talking about. We're not talking about some average champion who won the belt and then lost it the next fight, like most, like a lot of them, like Sean Strickland did. We're talking about a dominant legacy champion who's reigned over the division for years. I think Alexander Volkanovski can definitely strike and grapple with Topuria. I think Topuria is going to get hurt in this fight. And I think Volkanovski, he predicted a second-round knockout. I'm thinking he finishes Topuria in the third round. I don't want to go against the Volkman's pick, but I'm going to have to because I think he's jumping the gun, saying it'll be a little bit earlier than he anticipates. I think Volkanovski's getting his hand raised, finishing off Topuria. Now, I know Topuria's got slick grappling, but he doesn't have great wrestling. I know he's got dangerous boxing, but I don't think he has great striking from the outside. Little bit of reach advantage towards Volk. I think he's better with his straight shots, too. And if you look at Topuria's resume, okay, Josh Emmett win, yes, that is a good win. Josh Emmett's quality. Bryce Mitchell win, that's okay. Bryce is all right. And you know what? We respect him for subbing him up. He beat him up. The Jai Herbert win, it was up a weight class, but like to me, not overly impressive for the simple fact that he was dropped in that fight with a high kick. Ryan Hall win. Ryan Hall's a pure jiu-jitsu guy. It's good that he knocked him out. If you're going to be anything special, you knock out a Ryan Hall, but it's not a high pedigree win. Damon Jackson W. It was impressive as it happened. Damon Jackson's not top caliber. So he destroys the lower opposition. He's surely a top 5 guy. It's just Volkanovski is GOAT status. And I'm going with Volkanovski and still champion because I think a GOAT breaks the trend of 35 and older losing in world title fights. I'm going with Volkanovski getting it done. And if you're talking about the stat too, it's under 170 and under. I'm not talking about heavyweight. Like, wait. There was, 43-year-old champ at light heavyweight. Different weight class. Volkanovski, okay, I'm seeing him as a slight dog, minus 109 here, minus 110 here. Alexander Volkanovski is even money with Elliott Topuria. How do I not go with the Volkman? He opened up as a minus 165 favorite. Under 4.5 is minus 135. I like under 4.5. A lot better than under 3.5. Volkanovski by knockout plus 320. I think Volkanovski gets a TKO in this fight. Because I think Topuria is going to go for it. I think Topuria is going to bring that pressure. He's not going to shy away from a scrap with Volk. And there can be a legit accumulation of damage done by Alexander Volkanovski that leads him to a knockout win. I see the straights landing through the guard. I think Topuria is going to try to box it up with him. I think you're going to see Topuria look to rip the body a bit, but then Volk comes with nasty right hands and cracks Topuria. And then Topuria, when he tries to grapple, will be like, holy shit, Volkanovski's strong, and Volkanovski's going to be able to fend off the grappling onslaught. It's crazy to see how many people have jumped ship off Volkanovski because of a short notice loss to Islam Makhachev, whereas tons of people were saying that he'd beat Islam in a rematch, and if they would have been, thrown in a forest together, only one man coming out, it would have been Volkanovski. But now Topuria is going to beat him. I guess us MMA fans are, a little bit recency bias based. I will not be here. I'm going with the legacy of Alexander Volkanovski over the prospect on the come-up, Elliott Topuria, who I think has a great future ahead of him and some sick fights coming up. I would still like to see Topuria, Sean O'Malley, but Volkanovski's going to send him back. We got main event pick, Alexander Volkanovski, and still the UFC featherweight champion. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown, and I hope you guys enjoyed the shirt, the first ever MMA expert shirt. Peek the back, too. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Big W, everybody in the chat. I appreciate you all. Make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't. And if you haven't smashed the like, smash those too. Let me know what you thought of the picks in the comments down below. I want to know what my people are thinking. Big W in the comments to boost that algorithm for your boy. 298 daily content. Make sure the post notifications are turned on. Be dropping heat every single day of the week. So keep your eyes locked in here on the channel. I appreciate you guys. Much love. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.